slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna
There is a kind of story that does not fit neatly into the usual success narrative. It is not about Ivy League degrees, Silicon Valley tech, or Wall Street power suits. This story begins in a dusty traveling circus where the crowds came not for admiration but for amusement. They came to point, to gawk, to laugh. But in the middle of that so-called freak show stood a man who saw something different. He did not see shame or limits. He saw an opportunity. And that is how one of the most unexpected billionaires in history began his journey from sideshow curiosity to a global business icon. Phineas Taylor Barnum, better known as P.T. Barnum, was not born into wealth. He was born in 1810 in Bethel, Connecticut. His family lived modestly, and he grew up learning to hustle from a young age. Selling snacks, raising livestock, running errands, he did it all. But what set him apart was not what he sold. It was how he saw the world. Barnum believed that people were not just buyers. They were seekers of wonder, of distraction, of spectacle. And if he could give them a story worth paying for, he could turn even the most overlooked oddity into gold. Barnum's first taste of real money came when he purchased the rights to exhibit an elderly enslaved woman named Joice Heth, who he claimed was the 161-year-old former nurse of George Washington. The story was outrageous. The truth was questionable, but the crowds came pouring in. Barnum was criticized for exploiting her, and rightly so, but he learned something essential. If you could make people curious, you could make them pay attention. And if you could hold that attention, you could turn it into profit. That lesson would fuel the rest of his life. He did not stop with Joice Heth. Barnum kept pushing boundaries, staging exhibits and spectacles that were part entertainment, part hoax. He featured mermaids that were stitched together, fish and monkeys, giants with questionable origins, and performers who were marketed as the rarest of the rare. People came by the thousands. Some came to believe, some came to mock, but they came, and they paid. Barnum understood something modern marketers still wrestle with in a crowded world: attention is the real currency. In 1841, Barnum made one of the boldest moves of his career. He bought Scudder's American Museum in New York and turned it into Barnum's American Museum. It became the most popular attraction in the United States, drawing over 38 million visitors before it burned down decades later. He filled the museum with curiosities, live performances, historical replicas, and interactive exhibits. It was like nothing anyone had seen before. It was educational, entertaining, and outrageous all at once. This was not just business, it was show business, and Barnum was mastering it before the term even existed. Now here is where it gets even more surprising. Barnum did not just invent hype, he invented modern promotion itself. He was the master of free publicity. He would leak rumors, stage fake protests, and create controversy just to stir public interest. When he promoted the famous performer General Tom Thumb, a man with dwarfism, Barnum took him to meet Queen Victoria and other royals, turning a stage act into global fame. When he imported the Swedish opera singer Jenny Lind, he paid her a huge fee and built a campaign around her purity and talent. People lined up for tickets not because they knew her, but because Barnum made sure they wanted to know her. Barnum failed too. He lost his fortune at one point in speculative investments. But here is the crucial detail. He came back. He lectured on temperance, hard work, and perseverance. He restructured his debts. He learned from his mistakes. And he rebuilt. That resilience was key to his eventual climb to wealth beyond most imaginations. He did not see failure as the end. He saw it as a turning point. And then came the most iconic chapter of his life, the creation of Barnum and Bailey Circus. Teaming up with James Bailey, Barnum launched what would become known as the greatest show on earth. It was not just a circus, it was a mobile empire. Elephants, acrobats, clowns, strongmen, exotic animals, all packed into a traveling tent city that crisscrossed the nation. The circus was designed for awe, for wonder, and for massive scale. It brought rural families, city dwellers, and children into the same space of shared amazement. Barnum had taken the idea of a freak show and turned it into a beloved institution. You may be wondering, how does a man who sold hoaxes and circus tickets become a billionaire? That is the unexpected part. Barnum laid the foundation for an entertainment empire that would outlast his lifetime. His name became synonymous with spectacle. The brand he built would go on to merge, evolve, and generate billions in revenue over the decades. Even after his death in 1891, his vision continued to generate wealth for investors, performers, and companies connected to his legacy. And his strategies, attention economics, mass marketing, live experience monetization, are still the core of modern entertainment. Let us pause for a moment. What does this say about wealth, about legacy, about who gets to win in the economic game? Barnum had no college education, no inheritance, no corporate connections. What he had was an intuitive understanding of human psychology and the courage to act on it. He saw that people crave wonder as much as they crave bread, and he gave it to them in full. More importantly, he never let the opinions of others stop him. He was called a liar, a manipulator, and a fraud. He was dragged by newspapers and academics, but he kept going because he knew that building something meaningful does not require universal approval. It requires belief, creativity, and relentless energy. He turned criticism into curiosity and curiosity into cash. That is a skill more valuable than any MBA. His approach may not be suited for everyone. There were certainly ethical lines he crossed, especially early in his career, but the broader lesson is clear. Wealth often comes not from doing what others have done, but from daring to do what they would never try. Barnum took things considered low-class, bizarre, or shameful and rebranded them as worthy of attention and admiration. He found beauty where others saw flaws. He built systems where others saw chaos. That is what true entrepreneurs do. As he aged, Barnum also leaned into philanthropy and politics. He served in the Connecticut legislature and became mayor of Bridgeport. He funded public works, libraries, and campaigns for animal welfare. For all his flashy beginnings, he sought to leave a mark of substance. He believed in using wealth to build, not just to boast. And in doing so, he turned his fortune into a story of redemption and contribution. So here's the takeaway. You do not need to fit the mold to build a legacy. You do not need permission to be different. The world may label you strange, unrealistic, or foolish, but that is often the beginning of something extraordinary. The most unexpected billionaire in history did not climb a corporate ladder. He danced with lions, sold illusion as experience, and turned the ridicule of others into roaring applause. Are you using your uniqueness as a weapon? Are you willing to take the risk of standing out, even if it means being misunderstood? Because somewhere inside your freak show might be the seat of your fortune. The story of P.T. Barnum reminds us that the road to success is rarely paved in straight lines. It twists, it shocks, and sometimes it entertains. But for those bold enough to walk it, there are rewards that go far beyond money. There is an impact, there is recognition, and there is the satisfaction of knowing that you turned nothing into something unforgettable. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to learn about another self-made legend who turned struggle into dominance, then stick around for the next video. It will change the way you see risk, branding, and legacy forever.